Alright, looks like it's all working, so did I get on a little early? Yeah, I did. That's alright. Cool. Alright. Let me just get everything ready to go then. See if this is still set up to actually run. Get the debugger ready to go. Okay, cool. Hello. John W71. Hello. Get some music going and then we can get to the programming. So what I've got set up is this gap buffer, doing some very basic stuff, but it doesn't really have any of the capabilities it needs to have, so gotta figure out where to start with it today. Well, first of all, it's not able to respond to clicking or moving around, so maybe I want to start with the cursor seeking stuff. And obviously the /r's aren't being edited out anymore, so I also want to make sure when I load it that happens. But the real trick is when I first load it, I'm not even inserting a gap yet. I have the gap structure set up, but there's no gap there. So I think what I want to do absolutely first is introduce the gap so that everything I do is actually tested on a buffer that's got a gap in the middle. So how do I first open this thing is my question right now. Okay, so it looks like what it's doing is it's got a request size. So I think one thing I want to make sure that happens is this request size is double the size of what I need, basically, rounded up. So that means the request size has enough space for me to put a gap in there. So this right here should be half of the gap. And the other half of the gap should go here. Or half of the text. If that's double the size, then that means we have like 4 times as many of these, so the gap will be twice as big as the chunks of text, which I'm fine with. So then I want to set my gap size, I believe, to be whatever is left between the total, and then subtract out size 1 and subtract out size 2. So that just sort of sets up my sizes correctly. And then if size 1 is greater than 0, copy into data the value up till this size. Okay, makes sense. This says if size 2 is greater than 0, we're going to copy this much, and we're going to copy it to the position that you get out of the whatever is left over from after skipping past size 1, and then add in that and the gap size. So right now one thing I don't know is if I want to store 3 sizes, like size 1, size 2, and gap size, or if I want to store like the offset, so like the beginning of the gap and the beginning of the second chunk of text, or what I want to store there. So it's kind of interesting problem that I'll have to think about. Thirpity Croissant asks, not using 4coder? No, we're not right now. I've totally trashed it. I can show you what it looks like right now. 4coder is totally trashed because I'm setting up new buffer types in it to experiment, which has the consequence that it doesn't really work right now. Now you might think that I could be and should be using an old version, but I know that there's problems with it, and right now I'm trying to be productive so that I can get it to a point where I've achieved another goal, and then I'll go back to dog fooding. Right now I know what problem I need to solve, right? So I don't see the point in dog fooding to slow myself down until I'm back to a point where I'm thinking maybe I need to figure out the next big problem to work on. Okay, that's better. So now I've got it all in 2 chunks, and I've set up the gaps. Now, maybe what I should do is say that this operation here is complicated enough that that should be on the responsibility of a gap buffer to know how to do that. So that means I have something sort of like buffer initialize, and gap buffer initialize takes in a buffer and the original data and the original size, and to make that work, all you need to do is set the buffer's data and its max. Then this over here is going to assert that the that the max is going to be big enough. So for the max to be big enough, it wants to see that the max is at least as big as the size. That's not ideal, because that means you'll have an empty gap, but it needs to be at least that big to even be correct. So it'll assert just that. And just like over there, I'll probably want a size 1, size 2, and gap size ready to go. So those will be gone, and these will come over here. So now it's not file arrow, it's just buffer arrow. So we're going to have that buffer directly. Alright, so that won't be necessary, but except data is not really what I want, is it? It's or that other one. It's val that I actually care about, so that's just wrong. Hey, Canucles! I was thinking of you when I picked noon. I was hoping you could make it, so I'm glad you did. I'll be going for a while. I'm planning to just go for like 6 hours or whatever it takes for me to get a ton of work on this done today, but thought I should start early enough to see Canucles in the chat. What am I listening to? This is Horowitz, Vladimir Horowitz, playing Chopin Mazurka. I'm not sure which one. In B minor. I'll just post the whole thing right here. This is one of my personal favorites, actually. When I heard this, I went and just got sheet music for it and learned the whole thing like years and years ago. I don't think I remember it anymore, but it's one of the few songs that I went and learned how to play because I've enjoyed it so much. So, this gap buffer initialize looks all good, so let me see if I can compile. Got some problems, but that's fine. Request size means max. Oops, still got some file stuff in there. What is that? Well, I'm glad that it's good for you, Pinnacles. That is good. What is this? What happened there? The data pointer is good. This data pointer is good. I must have gone off bounds somehow. Let's see. Size 1, gap size. Size 1 plus gap size. Max. Oh. Oh. Okay. Wait, it's right there. Now what? The max should be big enough. Now, gap, yeah, that right there is less than that, so we're copying into a fair location. Data plus size 1. Well, what is the total size, for example? 10, 15. So, size 1 plus size 2 should equal that. It doesn't. What happened there? Ah! Another one of these. Okay. 43. Oops. Aha, there we go. It's back to working. Of course, it's hard to know for sure if it's working because we're not able to scroll to where the gap is, but now we're initializing it and there's a gap in it. So I feel like that means it's time to try to get moving around in the file working, because if I can move to where the gap is, then we'll know for sure if everything is working. Yeah, so, gap buffer. I'm gonna put up the old one for comparison. I think down here I've saved the necessary stuff for cursor seeking, though. Yes. Okay, so all of this can pop up above here, and we're gonna make that work today. Right, so that's rendering, and rendering isn't really done fully correctly yet, so line. That's kind of the same everywhere. I should move that to shared real quick. Let me take a moment to do that. I don't really see this interface actually being different from one type to the next anymore. So oh, whoops, that was too much. The rendering function changes, but not the buffer item, render item stuff. Okay, and then no, other one, give me the gap buffer. Now what I want to do is say I don't have such a thing as a gap buffer render item. There we go. Okay, looks good. So, it's back to the gap buffer. Now we can talk about getting the cursor seeking started. So the main thrust of this challenge is this one. This is the one that does all the hard work, and then these are just sort of helpers that call into that one. So I have to focus on this one, and like I said, I want to have the golden array version up next to me so that I can have it for comparison. Gap. No, it's not gap. It's just buffer cursor seek. Here it is. So I want to see if there's a reasonable way to just rewrite this one in the same way as it's already written. Because what this is basically doing is it's feeding a bunch of characters into all of this, right? So besides everything above here, this whole chunk of code is probably going to be exactly the same, which is interesting. And if that's the case, then it's just a matter of getting this stream of characters correctly. Right? If I get the stream of characters out of my gap buffer and feed them into this, I bet I get the same exact result. And so I have to do the right setup and the right looping scheme, but all that code is probably the same. So I'm gonna operate under that assumption and make it happen. So maybe what I need for this is something like, I'll probably need, let's see, I'll grab a copy of all of this and then take a look and see which ones I don't think I need. Data will be different, but I think I still need it. Size will be much different. That's like where I need size 1 and size 2 and gap size or something like that. We'll see. I'll still need that and that. So this stuff here has to do with iterating across the, except for this one. That stuff has to do with iterating across the, that stuff at the very top is about iterating across the buffer, and the rest is about the actual work you have to do. So maybe I separate these out the same way over here. Okay. Now we need to get information about our gap buffer, such as the size of various chunks and the gap. What is this one? Right. You just hide over there. Stop distracting me when I alt-tab around. Okay. That's a little bit interesting. So I think what I do there is I say I want to null terminate the end so that I can seek to it, and that way some of the things that work here, which do their work by noticing that you've gone past a certain point, then step back one to the previous cursor that was stored and return that. And so maybe I need to do something similar here, allow it to go one past the end. So I think I do want to null terminate this one. which basically means put a 0 after all of these, which means the sum of these always needs to be less than max, just like how the size of my other buffer always needs to be less than its max so that I can null terminate or terminate in some other crazy ways as I do. Okay. Interesting. So that's like a total size thing that I might want to store. And then I need to set all of this up the same way. That's all pretty much worthy of being put together like that since it's the same everywhere. Now I need to think about how I'm going to set up my iteration here. So what I've been doing for iterating across this is I basically have to do it in 2 steps. Like the first chunk and the second chunk, and then I put a second iteration here, which would go something like this maybe. Alright, and then to make that work, what I need is an end. And at the first step I set end to the size 1. Well, this one over here is using cursor position. How does it ensure that if it sees the final? Okay, so if that goes greater than the size, it gets out. And now cursor position won't necessarily line up with where I want to index, so actually I might want an I as well. So that might be something more like so I iterate to the first end, and then after the first end I set end to the total size plus 1. That way I have that null terminator in there too. And I set I to, or I set, yeah, I want to take I and add in the size of the gap, so it skips over that. And now the trick is, if you don't want to iterate over the first chunk, you just set I higher, which we'll get to once I start using this cursor hint correctly. Or I could just use that now. So I guess that's mostly just like cursor position, and then you say, look, if that went past size 1, then add in your gap size right now. And that would mean you're already on step 2 though, right? Well, no, you don't actually need to do this, because what'll happen is you just set this, and if it's less than size 1, it'll iterate over some portions of step size 1 before it advances to part 2. If this is greater than size 2, then this loop won't do anything, right? It'll get to I less than n and end right away, and then it will do the increment here. So it'll basically skip part 1 for you. It'll skip step 1. So, that seems like a pretty good setup, actually, that will kind of work. So right here, I want to say that because that's a part of the same thing that I need to do over here. Like so, and now here's where I really wish, like I don't want this function to get too slow, so I'm not really enthusiastic about the idea of making a function and like having all of this in a state struct that I pass a pointer to. Right, so I'd love some way to like write a thing that's not really, that's sort of like an inline function that you say, oh, this inline function needs access to local variables in the function that called it, and as long as they're like named the same way or something, you have access to them. Or even if it asks for one of the structs here, so I could throw everything in a struct, so they'd get grouped together, and then a certain special type of procedure or function or whatever would get access to those. And you could guarantee that it would be inlined, because I don't really want to have this code written twice, but I do want the compiled code to have it written twice. So it's annoying. Because if there's a bug in there, having that duplication will be a giant pain. I guess for now I'm just gonna like make the sacrifice and pull out a function here. So this is like a seek state situation. And that state will include such information as a cursor and a previous cursor. It will include such information as, let's see, I basically just need to figure out which things change and aren't recalculable, like ch, which they don't need. Ch is the input. Those all there actually, so maybe the state is just a cursor and a previous cursor, which would be pretty nice. And then it's give them the ch that they want. You give them the information about advances and stride on that. Alright, then what we need is XY seek is sort of a parameter, so it's like, is this an XY seek? Yes, need that there. Alright, let's see if that is enough. I think that gets me most of the way there. I think I'll just, since I'm already sort of throwing in the towel on speed there for now, until I come up with a better way, I'll say that I get those as copies out of the state. And then at the end I'll have to paste those back into the state. sound is so annoying. What's next? Alright, so we're gonna need the font height. Alright, which is a float. CH width. CH width is going to be local here. Max width. I believe that is a float. Let me check though. Filiadelsky, I do top and bottom comments because I don't really want to learn a key combo for going up and down. It's easier to just... I like the idea that that's just combined with another command, that you get that for free by having a seek command that's fast enough. So that's what I do. Plus, I like to turn my home and end keys, or not home and end. Let me try that real quick. Well, yeah, control home seems to be working. Not control end. I really don't like some of the things these do. Oh, gosh. What is this? What? Why did I don't know what, like, mode I'm in right now. Yeah, that's why I don't do fancy stuff, because I don't like having too many. I don't like having too many things going. Whoa, is this like a proportional font? How did I never notice this? Interesting. Interesting. Anyway. Yeah, I did press home. That's the thing. It was like in some weird mode where my cursor was doing a side-to-side thing, and it was like refusing to go left of that position it was at. It was really weird. I've never seen that before. Okay, so I'm dealing with errors here. So this needs a max width, and I want to see what you say about max width over here, gap buffer. It's a float. Right, so what do I actually want to do about this? I guess this just needs becomes a parameter. Would probably be the best thing to do. So that becomes a result equals 0. Anywhere where it says illegal break, I'm going to do a little fancy trick. Actually, wherever it says that, I'm going to do result equals 1. No, it'll be easier the other way around. Do it result equals 1 here and 0 there. Canuckle says you can usually track what happened with the messages tab when the mode gets changed, but I don't know what that means. I'm sure there's a messages tab. I don't really know how Emacs works. I just know that it's familiar and like it's kind of faster than other things I use. Like, I like the fact that it's simple and that doesn't have tons of craziness unless I accidentally hit wrong thing sometimes. Anyways, undeclared identifier get out. Right, so I need a get out. Seek. To pass the seek in still, huh? I'll pass that in right here, maybe. I'm trying to figure out the right way to order these to make it close as possible to other... Yeah, that's pretty good. Although XY seek is related to this, so maybe that should go there. No, it really was different. It wasn't just showing me like, yeah, you can do this, right? When this happens, you just go back, right? If it's like way over here and you're like, oh shoot, what's going on? You just sort of like go to the left and it works. Like, that's fine. That is not what happened. My cursor was sitting right there on the S, which it won't even let me do now. It won't even, anytime I try to get close to it, it goes away from there. It does that, but like it was all the way to the left and it wouldn't let me go more left than that. It was different than this. This is not what was happening. X, P, X, and Y. Oh, those need to be floats. Alright, another illegal break. Result equals 0. These are all illegal breaks. Result equals 0. Yeah, you just don't even worry about this, actually, okay? You don't worry about that. Yes, so we don't need you hanging about, or you, or either of you. We don't really need any of you. There we go. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. Now this guy over here isn't done because I have these breaks here and I don't really want it to... I don't just want to say return, because I don't like having returns in the middle of a function. So I'm going to do a goto, just because it's the easy way to get this done. And when you don't use declare anywhere, gotos are actually like super well behaved, so it's kind of nice. As in, it's really easy to predict what value variables are going to have and stuff like this. Okay, so now anytime it used to break out of the loop on the golden array, it's now returning with a 0. So all you really have to do is say perpetually loop. Well, let me keep that just for now because it does work. Perpetually loop, call this function up here. Cursor seek step. We'll need a pointer to a state. The seek, the XY seek value, max width, font height, advances, stride, size, and CH. Alright. And now this thing here, which is asking about the cursor, actually needs to go into the states cursor, and then the next thing I need to do is introduce a state up here, and this is becoming a bit of a mess up here right now, but that's fine. That is okay for now. We won't need you. And what we'll want to do is say that the states cursor is the input cursor. We can get rid of all of you. You are all gone. Okay. You're gone. Alright, now to make sure that works, I need to switch to compiling with the golden array instead of with the gap buffer. So turn you on. And go to my file view and use the golden array version for a minute. What do we got here? Okay, so that is defined in 2 places because I have that in shared now. Okay, so I need to go to file view golden array, view end line convert is gone, huh? Oh, actually, yeah, those functions just don't even... I'm gonna just say those guys are gone for a different reason, so we'll leave them out. Auto tab is gone for a different reason, so you can stay out. You shouldn't be controlled by the scalpel. Unreachable code. You're right, this is an infinite loop that I never break out of. What I meant to do is say something like I want to keep on doing this until this returns 0. So it's more like do this until that is 0, right? And then we just need to throw in result, and down here we have an extra brace that I should drop in there. I'm guessing you guys are worried that X and Y and PX are potentially uninitialized, which is annoying because I don't necessarily want to initialize them every single time through. Before they were known to be initialized because they were part of a loop. Well, I don't see any way out of it. For now, we're going to lose that. Okay. Let me make sure that it runs. And this is with the golden array. I'm making sure that that works again. Okay, so it's a bit off. You can see that I'm clicking and it's not getting me where I need to be. What that means is that what's happening here is that it's ending the loop too soon. It's taking its hint, which is always at the beginning of the line, and it's ending the loop right away. It's not seeking beyond that. So we have broken the golden array version with seeking to the end of the seeking to the right position. So let's get that one working before we get the gap buffer version working. Because we've restructured some stuff now, so I need to make sure it's correct before I try to make it work in a more complicated environment. So you set result to 1 initially, and you return result at the end. So the question is, do you always return a 0 for some odd reason? Get out, it starts off as 0, and it becomes a 1 in several cases here. Okay, let's take a look at the golden array. Result gets set here, and then you check and see if it was a 1 or not. It should have been. I'm gonna walk through it. I don't see it at a glance, so I'm going to walk through it. Okay, I don't care about this one because this is, first of all, the first one that starts it, so ending at that position. Stop it. Okay. Now, if I turn you back on, are you going to start triggering right away? No. Okay, good. So now what I'm going to do is try clicking on this one, and we'll see what happens. Okay. So, let's take a look. What is CH? It's a space. That is correct. What does state know? Is state correct right now? I think it would have to be. Of course, the prev cursor is just nonsense. Maybe that needs to be cleared to 0. We'll look at that. Seek is correct. XY seek is correct. Max with font height. Size is set up correctly, I have to assume. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look in here. That was nuts. Build it again. It's not running. Okay, it's just Visual Studio not repainting its window. Brilliant. Okay. Click on the 1. Okay. Step into there now. Interesting. Okay. CH is a space, it goes here, advance the character count, figure out the width of this thing, sure. Are we going over? We're not. Increment everybody, that's all working the same way as it used to. Position goes to 44. It's fantastic. position is not greater than the end yet, hasn't hit that end position yet. These are all set to 0. It's an XY type. Yep, so we get our X, our previous X, and our Y. And we come down here to see what's the dealio. So 51 is not greater than seq-y, so we keep going. X, what is seq X? 39, we're at a 4, so we keep going. Result is a 1, so we set everybody, this result becomes a 1, we go back up, we get a CH of star. Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. It's this. Of course it's that. So what happened there is cursor is a variable that gets passed into the function right here, and that's the way it was set up to work before because cursor was local, but now the cursor that's actually correct is the one inside the state, and I'm just copying that into the state. So I was just returning the cursor hint that was originally passed in, even though it was correctly computing the cursor that I needed to use. I just was returning the hint instead of the correct one. That is my guess, and voila, we have clicking up, down, left, and right. It's all back. We've got it. Okay, so golden array works. With the seek step being in the shared section. So, can we make our changes to get back to using the golden or the gap buffer and make this one work? What's that gonna take? So this is a little trickier, because the other one I just turned into do while because that was really easy. But this one doesn't quite work that way. So we need a seek state here, and we need up here somewhere we need to set that cursor. We want to make sure we return the state's cursor. And then at each step, I need to get the CH from the data. And I need to say that I'm calling all of the crazy stuff right here. Oh, I just had an idea for a feature that'd be really nice. Oh, man. So what I just had to do was kind of annoying. I had to resize this so I could see everything I wanted to see. So it'd be really nice if you could, like, have your cursor on this line in this situation and then just hit a key and say, I want this whole line to fit in the panel. So shift everything over until I can fit that on the panel. Or even better yet, just have a thing where you're like, if I have this selected and I hit a button, scroll until the whole panel is, this whole panel is visible, sacrifice whatever is over here until I can see everything here. You know, stuff like that might be nice. Alternatively, a thing where if your code wraps nicely for you, so like, right now what I have to do is deal with the white space, but what should really be happening is I have this list of parameters, and it just sort of goes, okay, if I go boom, that parameter bumps down here. So it like does its best to always fit your parameters on screen. So like it's code intelligent wrapping would be pretty awesome. And like I'm planning to do that. sometime. Okay, so state, here's the seek, here's the XY seek, here's the max width, the font height, the advances, the stride, size, and the CH. Now I don't actually have a size, but I want to look into that. Let's put you down here. I think I have a total size actually, which is the one I care about, right? No, size is like the size of the file. So that's actually just size 1 plus size 2. So that gets compared to the cursor position. So I'm going to do size 1 plus size 2. And then what I need is a result, which I think I put up there on this one. And result will start off as a 1. And result equals that. And basically, this loop here has to end if result ever becomes 0, so that we get the one that the function decided we should stop at. Now I don't know if that'll work or even build, but I think that's pretty much all I have to say on the matter. So if there's any bugs, the compiler will have to tell me. Right, and of course I have all of the emotion stuff disabled right now. So I gotta go actually put that back in for the gap buffer. But before I can even do that, I actually have to do these down here. But there's an easy hack I can do for them for now, which is that if I just take result and clear it, and then I set, let me go to shared real quick. This is not great, because this means I have to seek from the beginning of the file every time, rather than seeking from the beginning of each line, because I don't have the line hints set up yet. But, basically everyone starts at 0 except for line and character, who both start at 1. And that hint is like the beginning of file hint, which is always universally correct, so I can just say no matter what you're trying to do, start with that hint for now, and I'll figure out better hints for these various searches later. And then just call this, so that's like, that's actually going to be very similar to what the golden array does in these same functions. So cursor from position. You can see right here I actually have a make hint function, which I could have over here too, and it would just not take any parameters yet, and it would do this work here. Result hint, and I like that better, so I will do it, because then when I come down here, all I have to do to match these is go sort of copy you, paste you, and then at the very beginning, result equals make the cursor hint, the universal hint. Alright. With the only difference being that each of these has a different seek type. So this one seeks unwrapped XY. And if I take that again, well, like that, and paste it in there, take out the wrap, that gives me wrapped XY seeking. Okay. So I've basically got some version of these implemented now. Except these are the gap buffer cursor seeks, which is okay. And the fact that they work out to be very similar is nice. It's nice. Now the trick is, maybe none of this is the optimal, like maybe it's not always the optimal way, like the same cursor and the same seek system. Maybe like basically, if I said it as a rule that I'm doing absolute positions, which is why I have all this hinting and stuff, um, that could influence which of these buffer types works better and which of them don't. If I went with absolute positions, a different buffer might be better. If I went with relative positions, I don't know if I think I said absolute again. If I was using relative positions, which I know Martin Cohen, working on Hail, uses relative positions, which has the advantages of you don't have to keep track of hints, so you can optimize certain operations out that you just don't even do them. And the downside is that it's harder to find a position in the file. Like if you want to skip to line 10, or harder than that, like line 1000 out of 10,000 lines, it's a little bit more work. Where with mine, getting to line 1000 is very easy, because you have the hint data that just tells you where that line begins. And the hint data doesn't have to be per line, but that's the way it's set up. But anyway, just thinking that's gonna influence whether or not one buffer wins or another, is the fact that one of my requirements is absolute positions. And it's also possibly true that using the same absolute position system won't be the best for every buffer. But for now, I'm just going to get them to work, and then I'll optimize them one at a time. But this is building, so let's take a look at if I can click yet. Oh, total size. Well, what? But that's exactly equal to max, right? 262.144. 262.144. So that's right. I was actually setting the gap up so that it would take up the whole thing. So we're gonna see if we can not null terminate it, if we can not use terminators. And instead of that, because I'd rather keep it that way rather than throw in an extra bit of fudge there for an extra terminator, and instead say the last end position will go all the way to here, and then I just need to figure out how to pass in a ch equals 0 if I if you still have result after all of that, right, it's still not 0, then do it one more time. Well, let's do that. I kind of want to assert that that's a 0 after that, because it seems like it should have to be. Right, if you still have result, then do it one more time. This should always be the last one, and the ch is null. Okay, so that doesn't totally work, but it's something kind of like working, and the clicking works. So the arrows are busted, but that could have more to do with other factors. Right does not work, left does. Down kind of works. Up kind of works. So it's just sort of right that's busted, which could be for any reason, really. I might have just scalpeled it out. And the clicking works, which means the positioning system itself is looking pretty good. Now, we don't have scrolling in there yet, which we need to get. But now that we have clicking and positioning, that's not too far off. But let me get figuring out why that right key is broken. Also, I don't have any music. I kind of want to deal with that. What shall I play next? Well, what I could do is cycle the stream real quick. The advantage of that would be that if I start playing music, 'cause I know all of that was pretty much safe, because I've played it before and I can upload it to YouTube with that played. So what I should do is cycle my recording, so in case the next thing I play isn't, the whole thing doesn't get trashed. And by recording I mean my stream. So